display area. Well, once you start, I kind of map that out a little bit. And so if you go into anybody's yards over here, or the fallout area is that, you have to get permission from all of those homeowners and business, well, community center. And then those homes technically are supposed to be empty. Like the homeowner isn't supposed to be there in case a firework lands on their house or on their property and it causes a fire.
Right.
So, and that's with the smallest mortar. I don't know, I mean, and then it goes up to 225 radius.
Right, because I was going to say if they're using Class A's, that's a bigger mortar round. Class C's are small, or what you'd get at Star, but
So
these are probably going to be
honestly,
B's or A's.
Well, and then even to have them lit off here, it's encroaching on to even where their buildings are
Right.
across the street and
Well,
stuff.
and people are going to be parking out here too. That's why I'm just,
And they can't do that. It has to be completely sectioned off. And they have to have like spotters, making sure that no people are going into that zone, called the fallout zone.
well, the thing that we could do too is, I mean, we could make it so that they can't do Class B's and Class A's. They'd have to do the Class C, which would be just the normal stuff that you could buy, so that we don't have what I'll call issues or possible issues. I mean, if a Class A goes, that's a bigger deal than a Class C, if that goes sideways, literally.
Our other concern is having that shut down because there's so much road construction the way it is.
I know.
If you go north anyway, we're gonna have to go out south, then find a road to either to the east or the west, and then head north, and then.
Jim, is Liberty gonna be done by then?
To get to another property.
Is Liberty going to be done by then?
Is Liberty gonna be open by then?
It's open right now.
Is it?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
open with the temporary gravel on there,
Okay.
so it is open.
So something I do want to stress too, is this something we're pushing biggers to make sure they touch base, give us even some sort of request? Is that we found out about this through their Facebook. They went off advertised the event beforehand, so, yeah. Either way, the fireworks request, it can be complicated in this area to light the fireworks off, which you can tell just from what Aaron pointed out there too.
How do they do it for the Red Hawks? I don't expect you to
Really
know,
not.
but I'm saying, you
Yeah.
know, how does the Red Hawks, how are they able to do it?
There's really probably, it's all on I believe NDSU's property or.
So they don't
They
need any
probably-
type of permitting or
Well,
anything?
they
Because
probably
they do
work-
fireworks up there all
They
the
work
time,
with
right?
They work with Fargo and identify, they get a fireworks permit for the state, so.
What's that?
I think Fargo Dome parking lot.
Yeah,
Fargo Dome parking lot.
Thank you.
yeah. But it's on NDSU's property.
I did speak with the fire marshal in West Fargo, and so a lot of these guidelines that we are creating are based off of what Fargo and West Fargo are doing. So it's not like I'm just coming up with this, well, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do this. These are like NFPA standards, they're gold. I mean, it's not like we're just pulling these numbers out of.
Oh, no,
Right.
nobody's saying that. I'm just,
No.
I'm asking, what do they do, like, for other events where they're able to do it? You know, how can we make sure that we're within guidelines, but mirror that, you know?
Correct.
In Horace, really, we're trying to clean this up.
Right.
That's really what it is. I believe fire's intents are truly, hey, let's clean this up, let's follow the different rules out there for how to light these. In the past,
well, it's the consistency too, then everybody's going to know how this
Yep.
plays out.
Right.
When you're in when you have residential like that, because again, I love fireworks just as much as anybody else, but again, there's safety protocols that need to be in place as well, so.
So you have three, like I mentioned, you have a couple different prongs to consider. One is, would the council be open to allowing this event to occur, the special event, in regards to noise, from what time to what time? The second one is, the other one is, would you be supportive of having County Road 17 closed off? They asked from noon to 2 a.m. However, you could tighten that time frame up if you'd like to, or say no. And then the third is consideration of the fireworks, which, from what I could tell right there, is it does get very complicated. So we would ask that they meet the conditions from fire. Like I said, the pyrotechnics, the site plan, being in compliant with fire's requests there. security. The times, I believe, is 10 PM, but then signed agreement from property owners.
Aaron, have you talked to Big Herbs, though? I mean, have they, because that's something we should probably do, is get some clarification on what they're looking at for a pyrotechnic display. Are they gonna be bringing
Well,
it?
we have a letter, because Brent
Yeah.
forwarded the stuff to our department, so I have a letter, and it's from, he said that he's a
They-
pyrotechnic person.
they have an
from
individual-
Star Fireworks.
I'm assuming they're gonna use Star Fireworks again, because
Yes,
that's.
they're using Star Fireworks,
so-
individuals, a volunteer fireman, City of Sabin, and
Okay.
he is a licensed pyrotechnic that shoots off shows for Star Fireworks.
Okay, that's,
Is Randy
go
mentioned
ahead,
it.
good question.
I just have a comment, I'm on planning and zoning, and, maybe this is something to consider, but this entity does not comply with our zoning ordinances at this
Mhm.
point in time. Should we be approving special event permits for people that are out of compliance? Just something to think about.
What specifically is not in compliance with our zoning for everyone's knowledge?
The front facade was
Mhm.
started construction on without a building permit, so there
And we-
was a.
Or design review approval has
Mhm.
not been done for that as well.
And we stopped them, that's why they were still not done.
But
They
it's
haven't
been
submitted
like
what
that
they need.
for
Yes.
a long time.
Yeah.
Have they ever said what they're waiting for? They don't wanna do a permit, or what's the
We
story?
indicated to them that they need to provide a 3-year rendering of
Okay.
the facade.
Of what it would look like,
Yep.
and their response was, then I'll just leave it.
So they're not gonna finish their project and it's right on County 17.
They want it to look that way for the dance, huh?
I
Interesting.
guess from our perspective as well, because we want to implement, like, say someone wants to, like, they want to have this gathering, they said that they're expecting 1,500 to 2,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a serious concern for life safety and exits and all that kind of stuff when we get over there too. So that's another question is, how are they going to ensure that they're not exceeding the flow over there?
To be honest, I
That's a lot of
believe,
people.
I believe they put the cart before the horse without writing this, even discussion with the city beforehand.
Seems they
So-
don't really want to work with the city
And
much.
I'm just, like I said, yeah, I'm just telling you, we're
You
very
know,
frustrated with it, that
I
they
can
announced
honestly
this
say
out.
that Big Herbs has been a part of our town for a while, and everybody likes to have fun, right? But I think that we have to follow the rules when we do that, and it shouldn't be that hard. So for the time being, I think that there are a lot of discussions that need to be had, and I personally am not comfortable moving forward with any of these things until those discussions are had. So it's my opinion that this should be tabled until a representative from Big Herbs, a representative from Fire, and a representative of the city all sit down in one room and make sure that some of this is hashed out.
Yeah, because I mean, I agree with that, because we got a couple things in play here. I'm not real comfortable with the street closure that long. Noon till 2 in the morning is way too long. I could go till midnight, maybe, because we've done that in the past, and I can get there.
Right.
It still gets noisy, I know we're gonna get some calls, but I can go till midnight. But the noon seems too early. I would think that the band can set up in a reasonable time frame. I mean, this isn't ZZ Top coming to town.
It's the same people they had 2
Yeah,
years
so,
ago.
I mean, they can
For
sh-
the exact same closure that we did 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
why can't we do the same thing
So, I
that we
mean,
approved at that time?
Have that conversation, I mean, we're not gonna solve that here, have that conversation. I wanna see a narrower window on this. You talk to Big Herbs, I wanna see like a 3 o'clock. What do you guys think? I don't wanna go noon.
No, I don't wanna do noon, and
I mean, I think it's been 3, I think you're right, it's been 3 in the
3 o'clock,
past.
I thought.
Yeah.
It's-
It might be a little more risky.
I believe they did a lot of setup, but the road was still functional.
Right.
And
And there's nothing
they-
saying that they
They
can't
started it
pull
close.
some stuff off to
yeah.
the side and get it all set up over there and then just move
They-
it
they
in.
basically
It's a
did
trailer,
set up.
right?
Aaron, the other thing too, you guys have this conversation, you make sure that you guys figure out how you want to be able to exit stage door left if you guys need to go on a trip. If you're gonna go out the back way, however you want to cordon that off so nobody parks over there, whatever. Just make,
That brings a whole nother ball of wax.
I know, but I'm just saying, have that conversation with those guys so they understand, because that's the thing. Everybody needs to, you guys need to have access out I mean, I don't mind having these guys having some fun, but we gotta make sure that everybody can do it safely.
Safely. Everybody's got to get home. And I will tell you, we did have a conversation with Steve, and previously, we were able to cordon off a route where people couldn't park and the trucks could get out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we can do that.
Bean days last year.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, obviously, my main concern again is public safety along with fire. My question would be, who's in charge of signage for a detour route to make sure that's clear, make sure the roads are blocked off good enough, that we don't have some intoxicated person play dominoes with all the people who are attending.
Yep. Typically, that would be the event holder.
That's how it's been
That'd be
done.
their responsibility.
And who determines whether that's good enough or not?
That would be, they would technically have to identify where they would have that area blocked off. And then,
Well, what have we done for Bean Days, when we block off Bean Days? Who makes the
ask.
determination that's good enough?
Don't ask.
Yeah, okay, just saying.
And
I mean,
haven't been
our
around
city
for some of
staff.
those, so that's just why I'm asking.
Okay.
So usually the semi's pulled
days-
across the road as a
Okay.
barricade,
Is that what it, okay.
True.
and then they have two pop-up barricades on either side of the semi,
yeah.
and on both sides. My worry is all the road construction for her. Combined with the, if they do get that amount, that sounds like an awful high turnout. And if they do, hey, great for them. But like she said, where are they all gonna park?
Yep.
'Cause I mean,
No,
these
I know,
neighborhoods
yeah.
are gonna be just,
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. We gotta be able to make sure they can, and thing is too, we don't want Nelson, the people parking on both sides of the street over there too, because then they can't get a
It's-
truck through.
This year is a lot more complicated
Yep, I know, because we got all the
than any other
roads.
year we've had
so
because of the different construction activity going on.
when's the county having their meetings? I mean, we wanna table it, when do we have to have a decision by?
Well, in order for this to get approved even last night with the county, we'd be looking, they have their meetings the same days we do.
Right?
So,
Did they take the first week of July off too? Just wondered.
I do not know.
Sorry, I had to ask.
Basically, July, right now, from what I can tell, it'd be July 3rd, July 17th. So technically, I could get on, like, say, the 17th, if
Okay.
they don't, if they didn't reschedule or if they kept it July 3rd.
But we're not meeting before then,
That would be,
unless you
yeah.
wanna have a special session for us.
Yeah.
Over big herbs.
I would say that
So-
gives you guys plenty of time to hammer this out. You know what the concerns are of the council at this point. Make sure that we have that discussion, and when you guys come back here on the, 17th, or whenever you want to do it in July, let's have all those things figured out.
we wanted to make sure you're aware of what's going on and what their request is.
Fair.
Because this is,
I know, this is
they said the
nebulous.
timing of this one, when
It's
how
awful.
they submitted it, assuming the road would be closed without getting the approvals beforehand, we're very concerned about it.
Right, but then let's
So-
get confirmation of what those fireworks are gonna look like, size and everything like that, so we know, can we put those over there legally if they wanna bring in the Class A's? I kinda doubt it, because that's gonna get that perimeter pretty wide.
Well, they've never had any restriction before.
I know,
Yes,
So
they've
but,
never-
that's kind of
I know,
They've
But that's
been
a-
able to just light them off
I know.
wherever, and the city has not cracked down on it before, so now we are starting to become
Now,
more strict.
again, if we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do it right.
Well, as a growing city, we
Yep.
have to start.
Okay, anything else on this one, guys, anything else?
No, I think Sarah's
We're
right.
tabling it, right?
Yep, we're gonna table it till
I
the
do agree.
17th then? July, what is it, which one is, I don't know what date it is.
Be July 17th.
July 17th.
17th, okay, table it till then.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Just to play devil's advocate, the decision is made on July 17th. Does that give the county enough time to make their decision?
No.
That's what I was just saying, because they're gonna meet the same night, so.
They would have to submit the request to the county, or the city would have to submit the request. If they want 17 closed, or if they're pursuing that.
Okay, so how about this then? The Wednesday or Thursday before, can we have a special meeting, assuming that they have all their ducks in a row?
Sure.
Do we have a special meeting, we spend hopefully 10 minutes or less on it and be done,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay? Let's go do that. But if they don't have their ducks in a row, we're not having a meeting, okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, 13, Lucas, you got this one.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Councilmember Berkland asked about the standard review process for the city administrator position in the city. The city's employee handbook discusses the review or performance evaluation process for all employees, but it is silent as to the standard performance eval process for the city administrator position. So what I did was prepared a memo for the council to highlight various performance evals that are done in cities in this region, just to illustrate some other options that are out there for the city council to consider. The first one being the city of Moorhead. Theirs is probably the most expansive process of the cities in this area, where they kind of have an evaluation form. All members of the council fill it out, and it's ranked 1 through 5, I believe, is how they do it, and it's just a questionnaire. All the members of the council fill it out, and I believe the city manager, it's a manager in Minnesota, they complete their own self-eval, and then they actually have an executive session or a closed meeting to discuss the results of that eval. The HR director and city attorney work with the council to compile the results, and then there's a discussion that is then held, like I said, in an executive session. The next one, the city of Mapleton, they actually have 2 council members that conduct the performance evaluation, and they get input from the other council members and the mayor before having a conversation with their city clerk, and that's kind of the process that they use. Any decision on salary and stuff is done by the full council. The cities of Kindred and Harwood are similar to what Horace does, where they have the mayor and then a council member that has the human resources portfolio conduct the performance evaluation. They also obtain input from the other members of the council on any comments or anything that they might have. And so there's nothing formal as far as what documents that they have. And then the city of West Fargo does not do anything, to my surprise. They don't have any performance evals for their city administrator position. I don't know how long it's been that way. It hasn't always been that way for West Fargo. Their philosophy, I believe, is to have more of a continuous conversation throughout the year to facilitate communication, whether it's positive or negative, of the city administrator, rather than wait till the end of the year to have a performance evaluation.
I think some council members are surprised by that too.
I read some articles that may have
did.
said the same thing. And then Minnesota, other cities, the standard is for them to, the reviewee prepares a self-evaluation. Human Resources distributes a performance evaluation form to the mayor and the council members. They complete that performance eval and return it to the HR coordinator. And then Human Resources tabulates the results, and then the mayor and council members go into an executive session. Now, what's different about Minnesota cities and North Dakota cities is that North Dakota does not allow for you to go into an executive or a closed session to have that conversation. Minnesota does allow for it. So,
I'm sorry, say that again?
for the performance evaluation discussion in Minnesota, they can have an executive session. So they can close the meeting. North Dakota, you can't. So that would have to be open to everyone. And so that's why I think the standard process in North Dakota is typically 2 council members or the mayor and 1 council member. That way you don't have that open meetings violation or controversy with it. So those are, again, some options that are done in the cities in our area. You've got 2 of the larger ones, and then you've got some cities that are smaller and more close in size to what Horace is. Horace is kind of in that little special category of being bigger than the smalls but smaller than the bigs. So.
Yeah, because usually how we've done it is the person with the HR portfolio does the evaluation, and then I do an evaluation, and we sit down and have a conversation about it, and then we meet with, well, like in this case, it'd be the city administrator, and then we go over the evaluation of that, and that's what we've done.
I guess the problem I have with that is that I've never been asked my opinions, and I would like to be involved. I've worked in professional settings, and I feel like every time that I've had a professional job, I've had to have a self-evaluation. And I've never, I don't know, it doesn't sound like Brenton has to do it, or any subs, you know, if we had a city administrator other than Brenton, it doesn't sound like they have ever had to do like a self-evaluation.
He does.
Do you? Okay, well, see, these are things I don't know, because I've never been involved in the process. So I guess I just wanted to have it for discussion to see what you guys, what you thought, what your thoughts were.
Do you trust the person on our council who's responsible for the HR portfolio
Yeah.
to get your opinion and carry that forward? I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to have an opinion. I would like to see what his or her self-evaluation would be of themselves, so that I can say, yeah, I think that's good.
And we do that now. We do a self-evaluation.
Yeah, we usually, after we sit down with them, he usually does an evaluation.
It's
and
more,
then-
typically the self-eval side is more of a conversation.
A discussion.
A discussion.
That's then documented.
And then it's just a reflection, you know, conversation. And then the mayor and the HR portfolio holder conduct the review. And they put that together.
I would just like my input to be available, for the,
Talk to Jeff.
no,
I mean,
I don't want it to be like, I don't think it's fair for you to say to me that it has to be, I want it to be on the record. I don't want it to be, well, hey, Jeff, can I make sure you say, hey, I have this concern, or hey, I want to say great job on something. I don't think it's fair that my comments aren't on a record like yours.
Okay.
Say, Lucas, in the scenario, I don't remember which city, where it's like a mayor and one council member, and then input from other council members, is that like a formal process of input from other council
Very
members?
informal.
It's an
It
informal.
sounds like it's just conversations that they
Okay.
have. They reach out, have a conversation, and then say, essentially, do you have anything to add
Okay,
to the conversation that we're going to have with the city clerk or city administrator?
okay.
Yeah, it sounds like some of those smaller communities, there's not full engagement with the process.
So what are you
Okay.
saying? That you want to have like
I-
a form?
I would like to be able to see his form that he fills out for his self-evaluation, so that I can have input on it as well.
But not necessarily in like a
I
open
don't-
meeting.
no,
You're just
no,
saying
no.
that once Brenton fills out his form,
Mm-hmm.
then you want those copies to be distributed, and then we give our comments to.
Yeah, so that they can be brought up.
I think that's probably a helpful process.
It's just more formal than what the current process is, but the mayor and the HR portfolio holder are still doing the review, correct?
Yeah, that's what I would want.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing to consider is, keep in mind your open meetings, open records laws in North Dakota, so anything that you guys put in writing is then open to the public.
Isn't his,
That's not
isn't
fair.
isn't the administrators, I mean, isn't that all open to the public anyways, if people asked?
So when you're creating an evaluation form like that, then it's all open
And that's
To-
not happening right
to
now.
the public. I don't know what.
I mean, I don't know how the current process works.
Yeah, I don't know what
either.
Horace has for if there's a standard form or not.
Mayor?
We got a form that we fill out. I don't know if you've done.
I'm not
Have
doing
that
it
yet?
yet, so.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We have a form that I fill out, and like the HR portfolio person fills out that form. And it's kind of like just an evaluation form where you go through and you do a rating, and you fill in comments type of
So
thing.
currently, the form used is the same one used by all staff. The process right now that we go through with the mayor and the HR portfolio holder is consistent with what we do for basically all staff, or very similar. What we do for the rest of the staff, for example, is if it's a different supervisor will develop the eval, provide it to me, I'll go through it, and then I run through it with both the mayor and the HR portfolio holder. If they would like to participate with that review, they can, otherwise, but I make sure that they are consulted with each review that we give, and even HR actions. So it's consulted with the mayor and HR portfolio whenever possible. So, and that's what we do for all city staff. And so the process used is basically the same process. It's just the part with like my involvement is different, where it's the mayor and HR portfolio, not myself into the mix of reviewing the review.
So the form itself would be
It's the
consistent
same
with all
form.
staff?
That's what we have right now.
The one we've been using for.
It has a handful of different categories, and then normally it's fairly generic, just standard
Are you wanting
questions.
to change the
And
form?
No, I just want to be involved in the process because council has authority over the city administrator, and I feel like I never know what's going on with anything involving the city administrator, and I just feel like it's important to know, I think it's important for him to know, or her to know, what council is feeling, and how
That's
can
fair.
we improve processes, how can we have a better dialogue, and I'm not saying this because I think Brenton's doing an awful job. I'm just saying, I think as a council, whoever's in that position should have, if you look at the ordinances and the online, it shows that we are the authority above Brenton, or that position. So
is it, okay, it's fair, I understand where your question's coming from, and I have no reason to think
And
that
I-
it would be an issue, but I have no problem giving Jeff my comments and he can carry them forward. I'm more concerned, and I guess I'm not concerned, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, but I just don't want to break open meeting laws if we start changing up stuff, but I agree, I think we can have input, right?
I just want it
Always
to be,
have,
I want
yeah.
it to be a little more formal.
How do we formalize it without
Yeah, what can we do without breaking a meeting?
open meeting laws?
I meant like in Minnesota, they then take those evals and there's a conversation with the whole council and the city manager. So everybody's in the same room. This, you wouldn't have an open meetings violation because it would still just be the mayor and Jeff that are having the conversation.
I don't need to be at the review. I just want my comments to be
I'm going to say,
said.
as soon as you have 3 or more, it's now an open meeting.
Okay, so there should be no reason that her feedback couldn't be carried.
Correct.
Just like
Correct.
with any other staff member.
Mhm.
I mean, he should be treated the same as everyone else in the organization is. But a little extra feedback never hurts, that only makes a person better.
Mhm.
Do you disagree, Brenton?
I just would ask that there's consistency.
Consistency.
From my perspective, just be consistent with how we're doing it for staff.
Yeah, and I think that's why I want to see what the form, I would want to go by the form. I don't want to just be saying my own things. I want it to be consistent with the form.
So would we do that for different levels of staff or just the administrator?
No, we're only above Brenton. We don't have any say over the city staff.
What about the other entities at this table?
I don't know.
I don't work for you guys.
I'm just asking, because they're technically not on payroll, but
Right. I don't think we have,
Well,
That's the tough thing about it is we're appointed officials.
yeah.
Right.
So, but Brent is like on your payroll.
Mhm.
Payroll.
well, all of you
yeah.
are appointed, right? No, not you, James, but.
I'll just lean back.
Well, you're able to still get feedback. It's just, if you're wanting to do like a feedback process to them, you can. However, it's, to where do you stop? So
I'm
if
just
you're
wondering-
going into the appointed
I'm open.
category, then there's other areas too that are appointed. You have
Can the
special
council
assessment
fill
commission,
out that
plan commission, they're
form
also
and give
appointed.
it to Jeff, or is that where we're getting the issues?
Mhm.
No, I think that's fine.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they can
Yeah,
vote.
that's what I'm asking
Yeah.
for.
Fine, it can-
I don't see any reason to
yeah, right, but that then will just
have
accumulate though, so-
conversations out in the public.
but then you
I
don't
just
have
want
that.
my input to be able to be in the records, in the files of whoever the administrator is. And I think that that's any professional job. You have the people that are a step above you are involved in those processes, and I've never been involved in it. I couldn't even tell you what is said in those meetings. I have no idea what the administrator's personal file even looks like. And when I am above that section, I think that I have a right to do that. And I'm not saying that I want to go off on a tangent. I want to follow the form. I want to give feedback and input where I feel necessary and be able to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Does that include, what are the other things you mentioned? Do you want to do that for special assessment?
Well, I'm just saying if you get into the appointed category, appointed, you have, say, engineer and say attorney, but then you also have appointed of special assessment.
But do you
commission,
guys fill out a
so
self-evaluation
you
form?
don't typically do that on those, on the
No.
other ones?
It's
I
just-
mean, are you
Yeah.
able to do feedback to, like, let's say engineer and attorney? Yes, they technically report to the council.
They get my feedback
But-
regularly anyway.
Well, I try to give my feedback, but
You know,
I can't
they-
get somebody
they
to call
do-
me back.
The council has overall say over the.
I
those
trust
petitions.
Jeff to collect the information from me, you know, and if
Well,
he has
but
a
it has
form
to
or a
be,
guideline,
I mean,
that's
it
fine.
has to be a process. You can't just be like, yeah, Jeff, this is what I think, great. I feel like you have to have a like, if we're gonna implement a process, it needs to be followed. I mean,
What are we changing from the current process?
the form.
Well,
You would read the form that he fills out for himself. You could make input.
Isn't that readily available?
So right now, after
No.
he fills it out, I don't think we see it. At least I haven't the last
So
few years
there-
I've been here.
No, the self is more of a discussion. It's not written out form.
Oh.
It's, hey, how do you feel you're doing here, just overall
So
conversation.
do you fill
and
out a
then
physical form?
For a self?
Yeah.
No, that's a conversation. That's what I'm saying. It's been
Okay.
a conversation. And then that is consideration that the mayor and HR portfolio holder have when they do the eval. And then they go put together the eval, and then they touch base again after.
So I think that's where that translation is lost. Lucas was talking about
Oh.
a physical form that you are filling out for your self-eval. I get to do at least 2 or 3, depending upon my year. And it gets to go up the food chain. But anyhow, you would have to do the same thing, and then that would give each of these members the chance
Yes.
to review it and make their comments, I believe is what
That is what
you were
I'm
referring
asking
to.
for. I mean, I even have to have what they call SMART goals. I mean, everybody has some kind of self-reflection in their careers that they need to be doing. And I think that it's appropriate to have not just a discussion with the HR portfolio, but to have these things readily available so that we as council can say, yes, that's great work. Thank you for doing that. Keep up the great work. Or, hey, I'm noticing, it's taking a little bit longer. Whatever you want to say. And give a little bit of feedback. I mean, that's our job, I believe, as a council, to be able to say, this is what I'm asking. I don't see anything wrong with having a solid form and council being able to have input if they desire to do so.
I'm open. I default to Jeff. It doesn't matter to me.
I agree. I mean, I think.
It doesn't
I think
sound
all
like we're
communi-
changing the process.
Yeah, I mean,
It sounds
I
like
think
It
we're-
is changing a little
helpful.
bit though, because he doesn't fill anything out.
Oh.
He would have to do a self-evaluation on a form, and then we would read it and put our input and give it to Jeff, is what the process is that I'm asking for. And then they can have their meeting so that they're not breaking any rules on whatever
And
discussion.
this would be the same form that's given to the city staff?
Well, if you wanted to be consistent, then I would ask, then you could do it to the whole city staff. So basically.
Oh, so they don't even fill out anything?
Yeah, so I thought you guys were just talking about you guys just
That's what we're
doing
misunderstanding.
Well,
performance
then-
evals on your own, nothing to do with
So
it.
we just need a form.
Basically, you're asking, my understanding you're asking for is a self-evaluation form that's completed by all city staff. That then is considered within
My
the evaluation
apologies. See,
process.
this is why I feel like I don't know what's going on in the city, because I give out raises and I do all of these things to, for the city staff, yet I don't even know what's happening in the office, and I don't think that that's fair. When I'm handing out a raise and I don't have
When
any.
we collectively are voting
Yeah,
for
but
that.
you're handing out a raise, and you're telling me that you don't think it's necessary to know if,
Nobody's saying that. We
But,
just need
yeah,
a
no,
clarification of the process.
Okay, but let's just think about this a little bit. We're entrusting him to handle the staff too.
but
Are we
he
gonna
just
get down?
asked.
But are we gonna get down to the
No.
level we're gonna go on everybody?
He said that we should have consistency. So if that means they need to fill out a form too, so that Brenton can fill out a form, I have no problem with that. Whatever you guys want to do, but I think that council should have a say. I want my input in the record.
And if a form gets filled out, is that then public record?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, within a person's employment file, correct? Or,
Anyone can ask for it.
yeah.
You can get all of my performance.
But I was gonna say, that's the case, I
They're all
suppose.
public record.
They are?
All my
Yeah.
polls, my supervisor's comments, it's all public record.
I suppose.
It's not something that's considered an exempt or confidential record.
Right.
Under North Dakota's open records laws.
Yeah.
So as I read it, I thought you guys were just talking about the council wanted the ability to fill out an evaluation, a performance evaluation of the city administrator.
Well, I think it's been this is a good discussion, though, I guess, that I hadn't thought of the review process.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
might need a little more
I think-
clarification, because I've heard.
It's what you guys want. There's no clarification needed. It's what you guys want as the council, because if you want Brent to then fill out a self-eval as well, that's
Well,
something that would be added to this
Do you
process.
have to fill out a self-evaluation at your career? No.
You
Do
used
you?
to, not anymore.
Really?
I don't know.
I do.
I just changed jobs, so I haven't had to.
Working at the hospital for 10 years, I had to do a self-evaluation. Working at Vance Thompson Vision, I did for 5 years, did a self-evaluation every single year. Working at RDO, I do a self-evaluation every single year, and I have SMART goals.
Is it
Jim,
public
you know what
record,
SMART
though?
goals are?
Yeah, but it's not public
But
record.
those are private.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
I guess-
So that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to just,
Yeah.
for consideration purposes, where you're putting down your personal goals, aspirations, now how would you feel if members of the public had access to all that?
I mean, it is a normal business practice to be evaluating.
So you're
And I
telling
think-
me that if we have ask Brenton to do a self-evaluation, that's public record?
That is
So-
correct.
So council just can't,
I
But
say
wouldn't
you
it
could
be
do
a
a
conversation?
performance eval and put in it what you want,
But isn't a person?
and that's still public record too, but it's like,
well, how am I supposed to give him feedback on his self-evaluation if I don't know that? Because I'm not at your HR meetings, Mr. Mayor and Jeff. I'm not involved in your guys' conversations. So how am I supposed to know what his goals and how he's self-evaluating himself?
May I?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna interject here and only because each one of us is a portfolio holder.
Yes.
So like Jeff is HR, Stephanie, Parks and Events, the mayor is his own position, you work with planning and zoning, I work with infrastructure. So you're not at all of my meetings and I don't go to all your meetings.
No, but we talk.
Right.
And if I'm not allowed to be in on the conversations,
But I make sure that you're informed, and then you in turn give me feedback for infrastructure, and then I carry that to my meetings with my portfolio.
I guess I've never, ever had anybody in the HR portfolio or the mayor ask me for my feedback or my input on the issues or concerns that any of us would ever have, and has actually told me that it was brought up in a meeting, and I don't feel like me as council am being given information to be able to help where needed. That's my concern.
Do you feel that way about all of the portfolios or just the HR portfolio?
The HR portfolio.
See, Lucas, I feel like I feel like did this issue kind of come up in West Fargo recently? Wasn't there some news story about they were gonna start doing reviews of department heads or something? Do you know what I'm talking
So
about?
the commission questioned why performance evals weren't being done. They thought they were being done. They were not being done
Okay,
because their policy had changed to just that open communication, open dialogue throughout the year of sharing positives, negatives about the employees with them throughout
Okay.
the year, rather than just waiting till the end of the year to have those
What
conversations.
did they decide? I mean, I know it's not quite the same, but what did the council decide? Did they go back to the,
I don't know
or-
if they made a formal decision.
The
I don't.
performance review.
I don't represent.
no, I know you don't. I just thought maybe you
Yeah.
would have some
I don't
information
know.
on it.
I don't
Okay.
know what they, if they
Because
made a
the-
formal decision to go back to conducting
like
annual
fo-
performance
formal
evals.
performance
Yeah.
reviews, because the issue, well, one of the issues is, I mean, availability in a person's employee file, right, of open record. But would that hold the same in that situation? So say they were reviewing a department head and then there's evaluations on put in their employment file. That's open record regardless of who's creating the documents.
Correct.
It's an evaluative process in any employee's file that could be.
So West Fargo's, I could say, West
Open to
Fargo's
FOIA.
forms that they were using when they were doing them.
Yep.
Had changed from more of a comment-based performance evaluation where the supervisor or whatever was providing written comments, to towards the end of when they were doing them, just became circle the number, 1 through 5. No comments were provided. And so it's a boilerplate question, and it's essentially, do you strongly disagree, do you strongly agree, and then circle it.
Okay.
And I think, again, the reasoning for that is because they didn't want to have the comments in there, because then they're open records.
Well,
And
but
it's something, sorry to interrupt, but it's something that from a legal profession, I think that the legislature needs to address, because you're talking about some potentially very personal information that someone has in their performance eval, and is it fair that personnel files are open in North Dakota? And it's something that I was gonna, and I don't know where this happened, but some of us were talking in the office of talking to the League of Cities and saying, hey, is there a way that we can protect some of this information in employees' personnel files? Because I think it's gotta be an inhibitor in some ways of people even applying for a public position.
Yeah.
Knowing that this type of information is then subject to public, and I get transparency is important, but in a personnel file, there are some personal items that are in there that are open to the public.
And
That's
you guys, I'm
interesting.
open to tabling the discussion, think about it.
Yeah.
Think about how you guys want to be involved. I mean, it's really hard for me to say that I'm voting for an increase in wages when I don't even know what's happening behind closed doors. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm just trying to be honest.
But you can sit down with them at any time and have that conversation.
I don't want to get into the weeds with you on this right now, so
Okay.
we can talk about it later.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
let's do that then. You guys think about it. We'll table it for now.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay, moving along. Jim?
All right, we'll take a quick tour of the projects around town, starting in the south side of town. Maple Lake Estates, Phase 2, the water and sewer are complete. Working on storm sewer this week. They figure that at least this week and probably next will be storm sewer. Vistos, we don't have any more information, just approved change order number 1. We'll have to get an updated schedule from them. Arrowwood 3rd curb and gutter goes in later this week. With the street work to follow in the coming weeks, we don't quite know how long, and they haven't given us any indication how long it's gonna take them to get the curb and gutter in that. Terra Gardens 3rd edition, the fence is ongoing. The issue of who's gonna landscape it remains, haven't heard anything more on that, but they have been slowly but steadily working on the fence. Cub Creek 2nd, they started the underground today with 2 underground crews, and they continue with the loamer fill work on around the ponds and the pond excavation. Wall East, tree removal was last week, stump removal this week. Wall West, road was closed today, I'm sure you all heard about that. And The contractor Park Construction started working on the sewer connection at Lost River Road. And they are going to, from what I gathered this afternoon, they're gonna do some watering on the detour route, or at least on 81st and Wald tomorrow. How far that goes, they're gonna wait and see, so.
Probably won't last more than 2 hours, but it's worth a go.
That's the thing with the hairdryer blowing out there right now.
Mhm.
It's gonna be tough, so I'm assuming we'll be coming back with some dust control at some point in time, but we'll see where tomorrow brings. 66th Street, they're kind of at a point now where they've gotten all the underground in up to Christensen Boulevard. We do have to have a discussion on some sewer stuff we talked about last week, sooner than later. We do have an executive session, I talked about some right-of-way along those, a couple right-of-way chunks along there. Connection to Cassboro, the notices went out a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago? Week and a half ago for the change in the water source from groundwater from City of Horace to groundwater with Cassboro, so there's a 30-day notice on that. Wednesday is the pump startup and the vault startup on that, so at least that part of the project will be done.
What day?
Wednesday.
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 Okay.
We have been, a meeting has been requested with Cassboro to talk about when the official changeover will go. They're kind of leaning towards August 1st for billing purposes and keeping things clean. Haven't had a chance to talk with the administrator or anyone about that yet. Just kind of came up last week while I was gone. So we'll have some more follow-up discussions on that. Southdale Farms 5th continues along. The curb and gutter is towards the end of this week, and then paving will follow. They wanted blue tops on the day after they get done paving, so keep pushing on that one. So River's Edge 2nd, bids are opening tomorrow, so we'll get the bids on that rather large project. I see you were added to the list, so
Thank you.
you got the bid opening information on that one. So we are, now that these projects are all out and bid and started, we're gonna keep working on the capital improvement plan and have that to you probably your second meeting in July or your first meeting, however you wanna look at it, in July, the meeting in July for review and some direction on that, so. That's what I have for you today.
Okay. Any questions for Jim?
Thank you, Jim.
All right, Brenton, what do you got?
Okay, I got a whole list of different ones here for you. June 29th, 12:30 to 2:30, MetroCog is having a housing study session, so where you can listen to their findings and hear from their consultant what their housing study report has for findings there. If you would like to attend, please let Jason or I know, so that way we make sure we don't have a quorum. Or if we do have a quorum, we can notice it appropriately. So please let us know.
Mike, the meeting is both virtual and in person. In
Yep.
person is at MetroCog's conference room. And the meeting will be recorded if you're unable to attend. They'll also be doing an Eggs and Issues, which is put on by the Chamber of Commerce on July 11th. So if you're not able to attend or view the recording of this one, I would strongly encourage you to try and attend that Eggs and Issues. Breakfast is provided as part of that. So just a little plug on that, but this is a 12-month study that's now come to conclusion, and they're ready to kind of dish out the findings to all of the decision makers within the metro.
Chase, when's that in July again?
July 11th.
If you did want to go to the Eggs and Issues, please let us know too, because that requires a registration for that.
So the June 29th one, if you attend virtually and somebody attends in person, you still can break open meeting laws?
Please let us know, and then we're safe.
Yes.
They're safe, I'm sorry.
You guys can attend this virtually.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Shoot, I was gonna attend it virtually.
It's not a problem to notice it. Even if we don't have a quorum, we still notice it, and then we're covered.
Can
And
you
that's
just
the
notice it
plan.
then?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I think you should just.
If you're unsure, but you would like to attend, we could do it, we'll notice it, and then we're covered, so.
I am
do it.
planning to attend
Okay.
virtually, so if
Okay.
you would.
It's also whether
Understood.
in person or virtually would be nice to know, just so I can let MetroCog, hey, no, we have X amount of
Virtual.
people
Yes.
that'll be in person
I'll
versus.
respond to your RSVP this
Okay.
week.
Yes. Okay, next one is, just a reminder, we discussed it earlier tonight, but July 3rd, no council meeting. If we do need to have a special meeting, we will coordinate appropriately. Another one here is fireworks, just a reminder for everyone. Starting June 27th to July 3rd. The times are from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. for legal times to light up fireworks. July 4th to July 6th is 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. So that is what the ordinance states for those times. We all know Horace, we like our fireworks in Horace. So just want to make sure you're aware of the timeframes that folks are allowed to light
Could we
them up.
possibly send that out in our text messages to residents as a friendly reminder? I think that would be wonderful. We have several new people in our community, and I'd like to just ensure that that's added.
We'll put that on Facebook too, right, Paul? Just make sure everybody knows.
It is gonna be an hour's.
Yeah,
Awesome,
perfect.
thank you.
Next one I have here is approximately 165 trees of the 195 have been planted for boulevard trees. They look
How are the
great.
boys doing?
They're doing good. They will probably be coming back with.
Are
asks
they
for a
like
spade.
okay? Like
They're making do. But anyways, they have said a spade, they're renting a spade, has made a big difference. When they're digging by hand versus a spade, they're getting 2 or 3 times as many trees in with the spade than they are by hand.
have
So,
they had to do a lot by hand?
They started out with the first chunk by hand just because
Yeah.
the spade was not available, and then when they get into situations where they're near utilities, then they're hand digging them. But they've kind of, I think, switched the majority of doing by spade, but now we're pulling out the shovels every now and then.
Yeah. So all the folks that have been on the initial round of the boulevard tree list, that put an application in when we first did our orders, have been accounted for. Now this is addressing folks that have been on a wait list, because a lot of times when you order those trees, they come in bundles of 3 or 5, and we got a few extras just in case a tree didn't make it or was dead or something, or rough shape. So we had a few extras there. So now we're going into our wait list. We already have quite a few on that wait list for even next year. So those trees, though, we are very impressed with them. They're pretty darn good size to them. Honestly, I have, my neighbors have a couple of our trees in this program, and I put one in. There was an 1.5-inch caliber 2 years ago, and their tree my tree's dwarfed by theirs.
Whoa.
So, I mean, they're pretty good sized trees, and that's nice to see. Even the crabapple trees were good size. But we're happy to see that. For the temp bond, the pricing occurred here just about a week or so ago. The interest rate was 5.125%. Not bad, especially given the interest rates nowadays. Colliers indicated to us that they had other cities having temp bonds that were pricing on that 5.5%, 5.6%, when we were doing 5.125. So we're happy to have that. Closing of that is next week, I believe. Yep. Another one, we really want to keep this one close to our chest. However, North Dakota Fish and Game announced it, so might as well be able to tell everybody. The big pond on the south end of Cub Creek First Edition, that pond has been stocked with perch, and they have advertised it now as a fishable pond. So they have put mature perch in there. My understanding, their goal was to have perch that could be, that were full of eggs so they could spawn out and everything too, so mature perch. But they have identified it as to the public, saying it's a fishable pond now.
Which one?
On the south end of Cub Creek First Edition.
Yes.
That big pond, it's about a 7-acre pond, that one has perch in it now. So cool. And knowing if they're saying mature, it'd probably be some decent sized ones in there, to assume. I'm not very familiar with their stocking programs, other than just the fishermen, knowing they do a pretty good job managing population. What they indicated to our staff is that they want to see how the perch take for a year or two, and then evaluate that, and then they'll decide if they want to put any other types of fish in there, like crappie or walleyes or whatever. So that pond is deep enough to be able to support a variety of different fish in there. So,
Cool.
yep.
Bucket list.
Something a little different.
Cool.
So, yep.
It's one of our bucket lists.
Yep.
Letting kids be able to fish in our community.
And that's what I have for updates. So
Perfect.
double check and make sure I have them all.
Okay, I'll do portfolio reports. be out in Bismarck. I was gonna go tonight, I'll see, but League of Cities meeting tomorrow and Wednesday. Board of Directors is meeting and got some things they wanna go over. And so that is going on. I know June 29th, we got a bunch of things going on that day. There's a League of Cities regional listing meetings that's going on, Cass County Roundtable Leadership meeting, and I think, what was it, there's another MetroCog thing going on?
MetroCog.
Yeah, I just decided to take that day off because that's gonna be an all-day, 3-4 meetings event, so. That's what I got going on. Tara, what do you got?
You know, my majority focus, especially the last couple weeks, has been keeping up on projects. We've had several meetings this last week that spanned several hours to try to get through some of the pre-construction meetings for things that are coming. Both 63rd Street and Jim, refresh my memory.
Both of the shared use passes.
The shared use
pass at
paths,
Center
yes,
Avenue.
were the other ones that we sat through. And trying to stay ahead of just getting notifications out to residents. Thank you, gentlemen, Paul especially, for making sure that we got some notices out to all the folks on Wall Avenue. That was extremely important. We did have a really unfortunate circumstance that I want some people here to be aware of. Notices did go out in the Chestnut Ironwood area for that construction was going to start, and the contractor had put them in mailboxes but did not run it through our local postal service, which is not something that we do. Those post boxes are the property of the United States Postal Service, or that's their right? So the postmaster came by and actually pulled all those notices, and so construction started and all of those residents weren't notified. It is terrible how that happens. We've since informed them, obviously, that they need to put postage or put them on the homes, you know, not on the garage doors, but, you know, tape up on the doors. And so to our staff, Joel and Brenton and Adam, I really appreciate you guys' work, Jace, on just getting that information out. Paul, I'm not sure if you were involved in that, but I know several in the office were. And I know that some people over in the Chestnut Ironwood area were pretty upset. I was made aware of a circumstance where one, maybe more of the residents, the person I was speaking to refused to identify them, actually called a member of our staff and addressed them in such an unprofessional manner that I was embarrassed. And I come from an industry where people talk like sailors. That is completely unacceptable and will not be tolerated, period. Above and beyond that, we have some issues with one of our contractors that we need to discuss. Jim, you alluded to us talking tonight. They've pulled completely off of the 66th Street project and have started Cub Creek, but there's several issues to work through with that contractor. And so a lot of time was spent this week, and a lot of time will be spent in future weeks to try to get them back on track, because the leniency with which the city has operated under previously will not be moving forward when it starts to cost us money. Okay. Last item that I had, we did have a resident several weeks ago that reached out to the council regarding the addition of a stop sign in Lost River. I'll wait for that to go through. Gotta love small towns. And that particular resident was concerned about children running into the street. I responded to that resident, directed him and his wife to city staff, reached out to them. They let me know that they hadn't been in touch with anyone at staff, so I took the liberty to follow up with engineering to determine if there was a standard by which we add or subtract signage regarding stop signs and whatnot in developments. Jim, please add your commentary here. There really is no standard. Stop signs.
It's a low volume, low speed road.
Right.
So it's kind of, there's a lot of just judgment is what they say. If there's, and that's what the guidance is from the MUTCD, is just basically just judgment. So.
But this is in direct proximity to a rather large park that is frequented by a lot of children. And so, for that reason, I wanted to know if you wanted to add that as a council to our next meeting, or if you're comfortable having further discussions offline and coming up with an agreement individually.
I think we should probably bring it up so the residents can actually come in and have a conversation about it too, because I think they need to be aware of it.
Good, okay, so if we could on the next meeting, Brenton,
Yep,
formally
I have
add that
written
to
down.
the agenda so that we can all have discussion. And then I will reach out to that resident and his wife and let them know to attend the next meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
And then we should let, like I said, we need to let them know out there, so that it's beyond her, if there's others that want to come in and talk about it as well.
Paul, do we have a way to get that out as well? Sure. That there will be a discussion? And I am sure that that development has a personal page or something?
They have a Facebook page, and like Courtney and Corey.
We can add that? Great. That's all I got.
Okay. Naomi, what do you got?
Well, Julie stole my thunder over there. I was gonna ask what was happening with Big Irvs, but sounds like we don't really know at this point, right? With their construction.
We will push them.
Okay. And then I was just gonna let you guys know too that I am planning on adding something to the agenda at some point once I get some communication. I was talking to a couple of the developers and home builders that were talking my ear off about the abatement, but some other things came up that they were wanting to look and see how we can streamline some processes at the city level. So I told them to just get me a list of some of their concerns that they had with just timelines of things, and then maybe we can have a discussion on how we could possibly help them move in the direction that they're asking as far as that goes. So, and I'm not exactly sure on what they have in mind, but I just said, just let me know what what you want to talk about, and we can try to figure something out, whether it's at a council meeting or at the office. I don't know.
Sure.
So I just thought I'd let you guys know that.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
Got it, okay. Stephanie, what do you got?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, Jeff?
I don't have a lot for this week. We attended a MetroCog meeting and standard business as usual there. Other than that, I don't have a lot. So.
Okay. Did they talk anything about anything down here yet? Or coming?
They awarded the bid for the project to study the southwest side of the loop. And then they briefly talked about the walking path on the east side of the loop. So other than that, all they did was just award the bid. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Jeff, I wanted
Still
to
in
follow
play.
up with you. In the last meeting, we talked about a dirt pile
Mhm.
that needed to be moved. I had heard that it was in the process of getting moved. Did that ever get completed that you're aware of?
Completed? No. Are they in the middle of it? Yep.
Okay.
So that,
We are getting
that led to
something.
the other complaint from Friday night, so I will wait and see how we handle that. Otherwise, it'll go to the sheriff.
Okay.
Let us know how we can help.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, all right, then we will do the executive session held pursuant to NBCC 4-19.9 to discuss negotiating strategy or provide negotiating instructions to our attorney or other negotiator regarding a contract for a purchase of real property related to water, sewer, storm, street ID number 2022-8 that is known as 66th Street property. All right, so we're gonna go into executive session. We're gonna take 5 minutes here and we'll come back and get into executive session.
We brought another